The sun was barely cresting over Willow Lake, its golden rays dancing across the water, when I stepped onto my boat with a steaming mug of coffee. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and the soft quacking of ducks gliding nearby. This lake had been in my family for 3 generations, passed down from my grandfather, its deed locked in my name since I was 24. The dock beneath my feet, built by my father's hands, creaked gently as I settled in, savoring the peace. Then I saw it an orange notice taped to the hull, screaming, "EVY Tie-in," in bold letters, signed by the Willow Shores Homeowners Association. For a moment, I thought it was a joke. My boat, on my lake, violating their rules. The audacity was almost laughable. But as I read the threat of daily fines for my non-compliant watercraft obstructing their sole enjoyment, laughter turned to a slow-burning resolve. They'd picked the wrong fight. By the time I climbed the hill to my house, which had overlooked this lake for decades, Margaret, the HOA president, was already at my dock. She stood there, clipboard in hand, her perm rigid under a VY sore, her face pinched like she'd caught someone VYing their garbage cans out too long. "You need to move your boat," she barked as I approached, while VYing her clipboard like it was a court order. "It violates Ordinance 3B, Section 12 Unsightly Objects on Community Lake Shores." I smiled, not out of amusement, but because the irony was delicious. Margaret had no idea she was a tenant on my lake. She didn't know the HOA leased it from me, that their privileges came with zero power over me. I nodded, playing the compliant neighbor, and said I'd look into it. Inside, I was already planning a game I'd enjoy far too much. In my father's old office, I pulled out the deed folder from the safe. The notarized signature from 1984 gleamed like a weapon. The lake was mine, the shoreline was mine, and the lease had a clause that could end their access in a heartbeat if they overstepped. Margaret, I'll believe us, escalated the next day. A security guard left another notice, this time with photos of my boat anchored where it had been for a decade, now suddenly a community issue. Her emails to the neighborhood painted me as a rebel, claiming the lake was HOA property, and I was stealing it for myself. Whispers spread. I stayed silent, compiling my arsenal, copies of the deed, lease, maps, and water rights, all neatly bound in a binder I called Operation Reality Check. Margaret cornered me by the mailboxes one afternoon, her voice low like we were trading secrets. "Move the boat, and we'll let this go," she said, as if she was granting me mercy. I smiled, promised to think about it, and let her believe she held the reins. Meanwhile, I called my lawyer, Tom, who grinned like a kid at Christmas when he saw the lease. 2 HOA board members, softer spoken than Margaret, cited soon after, apologizing for the misunderstanding. Over lemonade on my porch, I showed them the deed and the clause, restrict my lake use, and the lease is void. They left pale and silent. Margaret, undeterred, raged in the HOA office, calling me a lake squatter, in a leaked board chat and threatening to call the sheriff me fishing buddy, no less. I laughed, letting her dig deeper. She planned a grand HOA picnic on my shoreline, never asking permission, assuming her authority was absolute. Flyers went up, chairs were rented, and she strutted along my property with a measuring wheel, clueless that my dock cameras were recording her every move in 4K. The stage was set for a meltdown that would echo through Willow Shores. I cited the county archives, where the clerk, recognizing my family name, handed me a dusty folder. Inside was gold, the 1979 water rights agreement, the original deed, and the lease, crystal clear that the HOA was a tenant. Any attempt to curb my rights voided their access instantly. Tom, my lawyer, leaned back in his suspenders and laid out my options: terminate the lease now or wait for Margaret to cross a final line. I chose to wait, wanting her to hand me the Tory herself. Margaret's campaign intensified. She posted, "No personal vessels," signs by my dock, planted fake permit flags, and emailed the neighborhood about unauthorized lake use. Margaret's desperation peaked at a lemonade stand turned HOA rally, where she preached about rogue residents, threatening VY Soul Harmony. Her daily emails claimed my boat scared geese and ruined sunsets. Then came her fatal move, a lakefront picnic announced to all, no permission sought. I sat on my boat, beer in hand, watching the sunset, knowing she'd written her own ending. Picnic day dawned flawless, the lake gleaming like glass. Margaret's tense and inflatable sly half in my water sprawled across my shoreline. From my boat I watched her bask in her imagined power, her headset mic blaring about. Shared values. At noon, as she introduced the band, my Bluetooth speaker crackled. My voice boomed. The lake and shoreline are privately owned. Unauthorized use via Lease Clause 9.3. Refer to the documents being distributed. I motored to shore in my dinghy, handing volunteers folders with the deed, lease, and every violation highlighted. The crowd murmured. Margaret's face burned red as she scanned the papers, her empire crumbling. Someone asked if the picnic was illegal. Another demanded a donation refund. Phones recorded as Margaret grabbed the mic, screaming that my documents were fake, accusing me of sabotage. Her voice cracked, her arms shook, but the board abandoned her. The sheriff, sipping coffee by his cruiser, didn't need to step in. A board member apologized, shut down the event, and within 20 minutes, the shoreline was empty, the deflating slide a sad monument to Margaret's fall. 2 days later, the HOA emailed an apology, blaming communication breakdowns. Signed by all but Margaret. She vanished, her blinds drawn, her clipboard gone. I met Tom, who drafted the termination letter. We requested a board meeting, and on Friday, I faced them with Charles, laying out every violation. Summer faded to fall, the lake serene. The HOA, humbled, fixed sidewalks instead of kayak colors. I replaced their generic sign with a wooden one. Private property, access by owner and VY Tation only. At a cookout I hosted, neighbors laughed and fished, free of rules. Margaret appeared one evening, offering muffins and an apology. She admitted power had blinded her. I took the basket, not forgiving, but closing the chapter. She left silently. The board signed a new lease, higher rent, stricter rules, no penalties for me. I bought benches for the shoreline and fixed the dock. A board member gifted a brass plaque in appreciation of the landowners who preserved this lake. Under moonlight, it shimmered, a quiet testament to truth over titles. Margaret's last gasp, a cryptic note saying, "Enjoy your lake while you can," sat in my drawer. Let her try. The lake was mine, and I'd reminded everyone what ownership means, not control, but legacy, defended with patience and proof.